House Bill 338, an act relating to the Kentucky Educational Excellence Scholarship Program. Representative Lawrence.
Gentleman from McCracken.
Mr. Speaker, I yield to the gentleman from Mason 70 for explanation of the bill and motion thereon.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Mason for explanation of the bill and a motion thereon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for passage of House Bill 338.
Motion is for the adoption of House Bill 338. Is there any discussion? Chair recognizes the gentleman from Lincoln 80 for discussion of the matter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman from Mason, I appreciate you very much, and we had a good conversation last night and had some good times joking around, and I have to give you props where props are due. I did not think you would take me up on my dare to go ahead and move the bill as soon as you stood up. So, Mr. Speaker, would the gentleman yield to a question?
He will yield.
Gentleman from Mason, would you care to explain what the bill does?
Gentleman from Mason.
Thank you, gentlemen. I would, and I'd also like to point out that the Speaker now owes me $20.
You're out of order, sir.
Clerk, could you please write that down for me? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Speaker. In good fun, House Bill 338 is a KEYS money bill. This will allow students to take their KEYS money and utilize it at, say, trade schools that are under the proprietary board. We've put it's a very simple bill. We're not trying to rework the wheel here. I just want to add trade schools to facilities that are eligible to utilize the KEYS fund. These schools would have to have been open for 5 years and need to be based in the state of Kentucky. My main purpose with this bill is just to open up opportunities for students to utilize their KEYS money and to have more opportunities to grow their education and their skill force. And if there is no further questions, I would move for passage of House Bill 338.
Question before the body is passage of House Bill 338. Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson 32 for discussion of the matter.
Yes, may I ask the sponsor a question?
He will yield.
Okay, so as we discussed in committee, if a proprietary school has gone through the accreditation process to receive Pell Grants, they would automatically be eligible to receive KEYS money, correct?
Gentleman from Mason.
Yes, thank you for that question. That is correct. So right now under the KEYS bill, any school that is eligible to receive the Pell Grant can receive the KEYS money as well.
Lady from Jefferson.
May I ask one follow-up?
He will yield another question.
So can you help me understand what barriers there would be for these proprietary agencies to not go through that accreditation process, under the thought that that could support legitimacy of agencies that are accepting taxpayer money?
Gentleman from Mason.
Thank you for that question. That is a great question. As we had discussed in committee, one of the barriers we're hoping to utilize is the 5 years, hoping to weed out a lot of the fly-by-nights that may popped up. You know, Joe Blow's Woodworking Shop, we don't want them taking tax dollars, obviously. I know that we had discussed revisiting the proprietary rules and maybe tightening up the reins on that, so that would be another bill at another time. But as of right now, but thank you for that question.
Lady from Jefferson.
May I ask one clarification?
He will yield another question.
Okay, so specifically, the gentleman with the welding company had said he was possibly in the process of becoming accredited, or whatever the phrase is, to receive Pell Grants, which would make him eligible for KEYS. Do you have an understanding, maybe from your specific constituent, on why we can't just have these proprietary schools go through that process in order to receive the KEYS money? Specifically the accreditation to be eligible for Pell Grants and any other federal funds.
Gentleman from Mason.
I'm sorry, lady, I don't have the actual, what the stipulations are for them to receive Pell Grants, and that's something that I will work on getting to you, and we'll take a look at that. I'd be happy to work with you on this so that we can kind of tighten up the reins on it.
Lady from Jefferson.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson 34 for discussion of the matter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I speak on the bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think this bill is very well intentioned, but I have serious concerns because we have many, many proprietary schools in Jefferson County. And several years ago, I think 10 or 12 students came to see many of us, and the school was not holding classes. They gave them a syllabus that was incomplete, charged them thousands of dollars of first semester. They had been in Louisville quite a while, and the recourse was, I don't think they had any recourse because the school wouldn't return their money. And I think we have the Keys money was founded to give money to students that were going to go in Kentucky or to take a course like a veterinary school outside of Kentucky that we didn't offer, but this was to have tax dollars go to our 8 major universities and our community and technical schools that are funded by the state. So I have a real concern of tax dollars going in the pockets of these proprietary schools that are making, for profit, a lot of money, and they will be making even more money out of our tax dollars. And even though they've been there 5 years, 10 years, they can close on a whim. I think one in the former gentleman from Jefferson 33's district closed down, and students had no recourse to get their thousands of dollars back, and it could be up to $25,000 a semester. So I really want to caution us. I think we need to tighten this bill quite a bit. I think we should caution about giving our money to fly-by-night schools that may have even been around for 5 or 10 years. So I think this is changing the Keys intention quite a bit. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Jefferson 33 for discussion of the matter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the gentleman from Mason for this good piece of legislation. I don't have a joking question. I've got a serious point to make. Maybe somebody else can haze you a little bit, but I won't do that. This is the latest in a long line of really good bills that we've passed that are doing really good things for our citizens insofar as Keys go. We know that higher education is really important. And not just higher education. Recently, we passed a bill to allow some of this Keys money, which is earned by students, to go toward trade schools and things of that nature. Because we know that some folks who earn this money don't go to college, they go and get a skill. But in all these debates, we don't mention one thing, and I wanted to mention that today. None of this is possible. None of this is possible without the lottery. And so I want to thank the Lottery Board for the wonderful things that they do in allowing us in Kentucky, all our Kentucky citizens. I've never bought a lottery ticket, but a lot of people do. And they allow our people to spend their entertainment dollars to have fun, but that also do good things like this to allow our citizens, our kids, to go to school and to get skills. So I think we'd be remiss if we do all this good stuff with Keys money and don't thank the Lottery Board. So I want to thank the Lottery Board for making this possible for our kids and making their lives better. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Spencer 53 for discussion of the matter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the gentleman from Mason. We have talked about this for several weeks. As chairman of the Budget Review Subcommittee for Post-Secondary Education, these scholarship programs fall under the purview of that budget unit. And as the gentleman from Jefferson 33 mentioned, these are not taxpayer dollars. These are dollars that are generated through the lottery that was set up for the purpose for education, and the state has chosen to use those dollars to provide scholarships and grants. The Council for Post-Secondary Education has a goal that of 60% of our adult population having a degree or some type of certificate or credential by 2030. Why is that important? As we all know, most jobs in the future are going to require additional education past high school. Not everybody is geared for a college degree, a master's. People have different skills, they have different talents, they have different goals. I like to say we need to be about removing obstacles and providing opportunities for our students, and we have to do that if we're going to meet that goal. If we're going to meet that goal so our students, our adults, our citizens can be productive, they can have the opportunity to succeed in life. I understand the concerns about the proprietary schools. Since my time in the General Assembly, we have expanded KEYS eligibility. There has been legislation to allow students to use KEYS for apprenticeship programs and their materials. Recently, the lady from Kenton 64 had legislation that expanded KEYS eligibility for an institution that had an articulated credit agreement with another institution. So we've been working toward this, and I see this as another step. And I applaud the gentleman from Mason for bringing this forward, and I urge passage of House Bill 338.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Laurel 90 for discussion of the matter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield to a question?
He will yield.
Another question. I feel there's been a lot on this one. Gentlemen, the other day I had a question for the gentleman from Carter, and he spoke of decorum being in these chambers. And keeping in line with that, I try to dress nice. And Monday before I came in, I went and got a haircut. And I see in this bill, it deals with barbers. And so on Monday, I went to Clay County and saw my good friend Brian Goins. He has the Perfect Gentleman Barber Shop down there. Brian's a great guy, witty guy, tells me what's going on, funny guy. Really like him, gives me a pretty good haircut. Won't give me a discount even though I keep losing hair while I'm up here. It is what it is. But gentlemen, my question for you is, what do you think makes a good barber?
Gentleman from Mason.
Thank you, gentlemen, for that question. I'll have to say that whenever the speaker gives me that $20, I will be looking for a new barber, because as of the first of this week, I tried to cut my own hair, and I happened to take a large nick out of the side of my head. And the gentleman from Carter offered to let me use the powder to try to hide that bald spot, and I appreciate that. Thank you for that question.
Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson 34 again.
Me again? Oh.
Yes, you again.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, I think it has good intentions, but I think we really need to beware. And my good friend, the gentleman from Spencer, said everybody's can't be college bound. But I want to point out that our technical and college 2-year programs, JCTC, all have technical components and graduations with technical degrees such as automotive, computer IT, 2-year programs that are much less expensive than the proprietary schools. But I think the initial goal was the KEYS money was supposed to go to our state schools. Again, I have a real fear of the proprietaries closing down, leaving town without the money, although my friend, where'd he go? He said that there is some bonding money involved in the proprietary schools. And while this is lottery funds that are going back into the state, when it comes back into the state KEYS account, I guess it's a thin line, but I believe that is taxpayer dollars that gets spent on Kentucky kids. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Hardin, 25, for discussion of the matter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I just want to, first of all, thank the sponsor. I am going to support it. We have lottery funds. We got to make sure that we're dispersing them as fair as we can. But I do want to address something that was said on the House floor that I think we should all think about. The gentleman from Jefferson was thanking the lottery board and all that the good that the lottery has done. I just want you to think of an irony that I think is really critical. According to a Duke study, Duke University, I don't like saying that on this House floor. According to a Duke University study several years ago, 1/3 of the poorest people in the country pay half of the lottery funds. Now, the flip of that is the poorest in our country are the ones who typically do not go to college. So here's the irony. The poorest in our state is helping to fund not their own children's college careers. They're funding middle class and upper middle class kids to go to college. You want to talk about a regressive, punitive way to hurt our poor. Well, let's take it from the poor and give it to the middle class so their middle class kids can have a break as they go to college. This idea that the lottery is this great thing is something that should be discussed even further. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There has been many points brought up, and I'd like to address some of them quickly. And the idea that the money is going to proprietary schools and things, the purpose of this bill is to simply open up opportunities for our students. I'm advocating for our students. I'm not advocating for universities. I'm not advocating for large technical schools. Some of these schools that have been mentioned are hours away from folks in my district. These are young men and women that may not have the money to drive and stay at a university at 2 and 3 hours away. I'm hoping to open up opportunities for rural Kentucky for the students that want to get an education and better their lives. That is my hope. That's why I ran for this office, is to make a difference, and I will stand behind this bill, and I thank you all for your consideration. And for House, a vote on 338.
Question before the body. It's passage of House Bill 338. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk will sound the chimes. Those in favor vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Roll call is open for your vote. Chair recognizes the lady from Davis 7 for explanation of vote not to exceed 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity today. I want to compliment the gentleman from Mason and for all those students out there that have worked so hard to earn their KEYS money. I'm glad this gives them another opportunity to spend that money no matter where they want to go. Thank you, gentlemen.
Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson 32 for explanation of vote not to exceed 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'd like to explain my yes vote. I'm voting yes today because of the unwavering support I have for providing pathways to careers in the trade, and also in appreciation for the gentleman from Mason 70 for, on each occasion that I've spoken to him with my concerns, he reiterated how he will learn about it and figure it out and address, the concerns that I have, and I greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson 44 for explanation of vote not to exceed 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm explaining my no vote. I do appreciate your intent here and your passion for students to find a pathway. We fund, not at the level we should, but we fund state universities and the KCTCS. And our KCTCS system offers great opportunities in these trades. And I think this is a deviation from what KEYS money was spent. I worked at JCTC, and we got tons of students who came to us after going to a proprietary school and were not able to pass certification. They had to come start all over at the community college level. So I'm just being very cautious here. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the lady from Warren 20 for explanation of vote not to exceed 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to explain my no vote. There are a lot of great things in this bill, and congratulations to the gentleman from Mason. But I share many of my colleagues' concerns about the use of this money for proprietaries. I have seen some terrible, terrible student debt situations that have arisen from that. And as the lady from Jefferson 44 said, people who can never get certified because they have not had adequate education. As someone who is committed to helping student loan borrowers get a fair shake and have full transparency, I can't vote for this today without that guardrail, but I hope that's something we can revisit in the next session. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the lady from Martin for explanation of vote not to exceed 2 minutes.
I want to say thank you to the representative from Mason. As a former vocational rehab counselor, I had an opportunity to guide and counsel many students through a educational training program. And one of the things that bothered me most was when we changed our vocational schools to be a part of the college system, we had a lot of students that could not make it through the algebra and a lot of the math classes, so they could not obtain a 2-year degree, training degree, because of this. So allowing them to take their keys money to another training program. For example, I had several consumers, the truck driving school in Clark County, they could not accept any kind of grants or things of that nature. So I want to commend you on your bill, and I think that the opportunity that we have to give our people any kind of educational or financial opportunity to enter the workforce is a great thing for our constituents. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the lady from Henry for explanation of vote not to exceed 2 minutes.
I would like to explain my yes vote. I would like to congratulate the gentleman from Mason. I voted yes today because post-secondary education is so important, especially for individuals wanting to pursue a trade skill. This bill will bring the potential for higher paying jobs in Kentucky, and again, thank you to the gentleman from Mason for this bill.
All members voted. Clerk will take the roll. Being 81 members voting aye, 17 members voting nay, House Bill 338 is passed. Gentleman from Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for clencher.
Without objection, clencher is applied.